and think about it. So we're going to talk about it, give you my thoughts and opinions about it. Cam Parker will be on in about 15 minutes. He was at the presser. I haven't watched it. I watched the first few minutes and I go, I'm done. I don't care to watch it anymore. And look, it sucks because we know how I rock and roll with these things. You guys know how I'm the Sunshine, the Disney Gator. That's been my badge of honor, I guess you could say. And it's Disney Gator's moving out. He's packing his bags. Someone else should pack their bags too. Look, here's my thought on this, and I don't like to be negative, but we're gonna kind of break this thing out where I've really lost my my support, and I think everybody leaving by the third quarter was a sign to that. I'm nervous in the sense that nobody's gonna show up for Sanford, nobody's gonna show up for Texas A&M. And look, it's one of those things when it rains, it pours. That's what it feels like. And I could see people in the comments, don't quit being so negative. Just stop. I'm not. Like, that's not where we're at here. That's not how I rock and roll from the big time. But here's my thing. I've been all in. I've been dialed in. And a couple of things we got to break out. First being the offensive line. Here's a tweet here from Brandon Olson. Shout out to Brandon Olson, Locked On Gators. Says, I don't think I've ever seen this before. Florida Gators offensive tackle Cam Waits had a PFF pass blocking grade of 0. 19 pass blocking reps, 4 pressures allowed. So kind of put that in your head. A 0 pass blocking grade. Why that frustrates me is because we haven't recruited the offensive line. I've been saying that. I've been yelling from the clouds. When we land all these top tier wide receivers, these athletic positions, fires me up. I get juiced up. Nothing but the best. Trench work has not been the greatest. LJ McCray didn't see much of him, but again, let's go back to the offensive line. Cam Waits gets the nod on the depth chart. I'm fired up. I'm riled up. Why? Because we've been here all offseason, the development. I supported Rob Sell. I go, look, he didn't do well last year, but this year he's got his guys. We're going to have an opportunity to see development. These guys have been working with Rob now for 3 years. Barber at left tackle, Najee Harris for his second year, Jake Slaughter in his third year, Damian George in his second year, and Cam Waits in his third year. These are all his guys now with 2 offensive linemen. We can't recruit with them. Well, they better damn be developing, right? 5=1. These guys be dialed in. Got to be looking good. Got to be unison. Got to be in sync. A 0 on pass blocking. And I'm not even, to be honest with you, I'm not even going to really be mad at the kids. I have a little bit of criticism, but it's the leadership. And we're going to get into that too. But you tell me, Bailey saying this is the best team we've ever had. And he comes out here and we get a 0 on the right tackle position of pass blocking. So 2 things concern me. Either that this is genuinely the best team you've ever had, which then leads me to believe that you genuinely are over your head. You don't know what a SEC style of football team is. Because you felt march. Either you march onto that football field thinking like we're going to whoop some ass, and you were just completely overwhelmed because you were nowhere near where you needed to be. Or 2, you knew we were going to get our asses clapped, but you were just going to just sell me some shit. Either way, both cause for me to throw some hands. You know what I'm saying? Both cause me to get rowdy. And here's the other part of it, because I've thought about this for 2 hours. I'm looking at all different angles of this, right? We're going to be here for a minute, so just buckle the hell up. Is that, look, these are grown men that have jobs, that have lives, wives, kids, families. Everybody gets impacted by this. And so as a media outlet, we have somewhat influence. I don't believe that I do, but I know the media does in that regards to how people's jobs are persuaded. Because if the mob gets rowdy, it just is what it is. And so my point for saying that is that, look, Billy and these guys, they're all grown men. They've got jobs to uphold. But what people don't look at, and we criticize the writers and these guys constantly, myself included. I give them shit all the time. Sometimes I feel like they're a bit of harsh things like that. Remember Edgar or Mike Thomas said, I'll be here long after Billy. We gave him shit. Looks like he might be able to come circle back on that now after this past weekend. So my point to that is that these writers, these guys that were writing all offseason long, right, of the things they've heard, of the things that they were able to see, again, very limited content that they were able to see, 15 minutes, and it was probably just fluff from the team because they wanted to keep it as secure and locked as possible. We're getting this data of the 15 muscle mass increase. Was that all bullshit? Because I didn't see that, right? So you've got these guys putting their name at the bottom of these articles, writing with confidence that, yeah, this is how we think it's going to look. Here's what we're hearing. Here's what we're feeling. And now we're gonna, I mean, myself included, I have fun with it. So It's more of I have that fanatic point of view anyway, so I know where I lie. But these riders that genuinely, this is their passion, this is their dream, and their job, right, is in a sense going to be questioned because it's like, what happened here? Like, who wouldn't be frustrated? So Billy's costing a lot here, okay? Not to mention these kids' futures that are on the football field. I mean, these guys got absolutely embarrassed. Embarrassed. And let's talk about that, okay? Let's talk about matching him up with Mario Cristobal, okay? Both were hired seemingly at the same time, okay? They come in, they're recruiting, they're in recruiting battles together, and we start losing recruiter battles. And what do? I support Billy, and I go, look, and I said this, and you can go back and find the podcast if you choose to. I go, there's a way that Billy is doing it, and there's a way that Mario's doing it, and Miami's doing it. They seem to be overpaying for guys. Think about the Francis Magnolo and Samson Okinola and a few others. Kermani McLean, who we ended up with anyways. Rashada, right, who we didn't end up with at all. Mark Fletcher, heard his name a few times yesterday. And I said, I go, look, this may come back to bite us in the ass, or it may come back to bite Mario in the ass. With the era of NIL, who knows how it's going to work with overpaying for guys. And it was pretty clear early on that we were not going to overpay for guys. And look, I'm all in. Here's the people where people get things confused. I supported it because I trusted and believed in the fact that this was our guy leading us, and I believe you got to buy into the guy that's going to lead the way. Not everybody believes it, and that's fine. You told me one thing, and I trusted it, and I believed in it, and then this is what happens. Year 3, both guys come in. This guy, Mario, goes on the road with a transfer quarterback that got there in January with 11 new transfers from the transfer portal on the road, which Florida has not looked good on the road since Billy has been here, right? And absolutely wallops us in considerably one of the hardest stadiums to play in college football. What more? What more do you need? You know what I mean? 2 big plays that really fired me up. I'm getting blown up over here. Hold on. 2 plays that really fired me up, which I'm sure fired you up too, which is, again, I hear about the culture, I hear about these things, is the Boone incident, the DJ Douglas incident, both roughing the passer incidents. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Miami's not overpaying guys. Look, this isn't a shot. I'm not trying to take a jab here, okay? During the recruiting process, there will be times where we would lose out on guys, and there was reports that, like, yeah, they offered more. And it's not necessarily they're overpaying. They offered to pay them more, and it paid off. So this isn't me taking a shot. So get out of your feelings. I'm not pointing the finger saying, woe is me. I'm not saying any of that. Miami came out there, showed up, and whooped our ass. There is no which way around it. Are they the best team in college football? I don't know, because who knows how bad we really are, right? But I think they're improved, and Mario's got a good staff and a good thing rolling over there down there in Miami. Yeah, scares the shit out of me. And that's what makes it even harder. You look around, Miami's doing what they're doing. Tennessee's doing what they're doing, right? UCF might fucking pick up and find something here in just a minute. FSU obviously did what they did last year. We'll see how they bounce back after this game. I don't know. DJ Lagway, I know everyone's always concerned about that. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the wide receiver room. Let's talk about all the speed we heard about all offseason. And the one thing that Miami fans harped on, and that they admitted that their secondary would be a concern for them. I go, oh my goodness. We've been hearing about this speed in this wide receiver room. We've got Graham Heismertz back there, who I have my bone to pick with as well, which I'll get into in a minute. 0 separation from anybody. Eugene Wilson running bubble routes all day long. Not Eugene's fault, play calling fault, on man-to-man coverage. DJ Lagway comes in, first 3 plays, 3 slants in a row, gets 15, 20 yards. I mean, what are we doing? I couldn't tell you. You get this fasty, twitchy wide receiver, and we're just bubble screening the asses off. I couldn't believe it. So many opportunities you had to capitalize on the fact that you were playing in the swamp. You ignored all of those things. And I think somebody brought it up yesterday. It's like, it's almost if he doesn't have a pulse of the rivalries and what it is. And it's like, I think he wants to. I think that it feels very gimmicky now. It doesn't feel like there's a true passion behind it. You didn't show it to me yesterday. The reason I didn't watch his presser is because the presser should have been 5 minutes. The pressure comes out. We've seen it plenty of times before with the Lane Kiffins. Kirby's done it a few times. Lanning has this in him as well. You should be Spurrier, of course. pay the fine, because I know they have to answer questions. F the questions. Come out there and go, hey, we suck. I suck. I need to reevaluate everything that I thought that I knew. This is on me. I didn't execute. I wasn't prepared. We've had 8 weeks. I need full transparency, full vulnerability from you. And not that I'm going to say that it's going to keep your job, but man to man, mano a mano, own up to the shit. I'm over here standing in the paint, taking it to the nutsack because of the shit that I've been talking. Where's it at from you? I don't get a $26 million payout either afterwards. You know what I'm saying? And I hate to be like this. I really do. Like, this isn't my mojo. This isn't how I get down with it. You know what I mean? But I'm fucking pissed. Like, this shit's my passion. Like, I love doing this shit, and it's not fun when it has to go this way. I mean, talk about a tale of two tales. You know what I'm saying? Last Saturday, I'm over here running my damn mouth. Roll into this Saturday, get my nuts kicked. You know what I mean? It's just unbelievable. I'm disgusted. We're going to have Cam hop on here in just a minute. But, and think about recruiting. Cam just brought it up. We'll talk about him in just a minute. This is something that kind of Billy has saved his faith on. And I could do that in quotes because the recruiting's been questionable at best. When he first comes in, he goes, if you can get a top 5 class, the University of Florida in the SEC, then what are we even doing here? We haven't had one yet, Billy, so I don't know. And now you had 60-plus recruits there. I mean, I want to talk about creme de la creme of list at that game. Watch that happen. Watch the swamp get drained like it's never been drained before in its entire life. Never really heard it get too loud either. Never had a moment of like, wow, this place is electric. And I know it was hot. So Billy needs to know that. How do you figure it out? Right? Look, the things that I have been critical, in-game decisions and killer mentality. It's not there. He does not have it. I thought maybe we would see a switch. It's not there. I've seen some people say like, hey, I'm still on the fence. I am not on the fence. I can't say this. I can't give you too much details, but again, take this with a grain of salt because at this fucking point, who knows what we hear is to be true. I'm going to keep it a buck. There's somebody that I spoke with this past weekend that is very close to DJ, as close as you could possibly imagine, that says, look, well, no matter what happens, this is before the game. He goes, look, this kid loves Florida. So no matter what happens, he's a Florida. But who knows? The world is so ever-changing with NIL. Who knows? But at this point where I'm at, everyone's like, oh, we'll lose DJ Lagway. No. DJ Lagway is the people's champ. He's a Florida Gator. We need to keep DJ from Billy at this point. You know what I'm saying? You think DJ, like, oh, we want to lose Billy because DJ's going to leave. If I'm DJ, I'm like, yo, Billy stays, I might be leaving. You know what I'm saying? I can't have my career just go into a blunder. I mean, you got to think about what this is. Right? Here's where it gets deep, bro. I follow this shit like nobody's business. I talk about this shit all the time. For every reason that I have supported him, right? It took one game for me to go, you lost me. Because you bought in on Rob Sale, whatever Willie was giving you shit about. And I backed you up and said, look, he's gonna develop guys, he's gonna make these guys better. I trust your process, trust your analysis. You didn't do that. Everyone told you to get offensive coordinator. I go, no, Billy's gonna be fine. Play calling was great. Just need to get a good defense and he'll get into his rhythm. You look like shit, Billy. Play calling was atrocious. So you effed me there as well. And it looked like Callaway was calling out at the end. All of a sudden, shit got bumping. Okay? Graham Mertz, I don't know what happened. He looked like he was seeing ghosts. Probably because he had 19 fucking thousand white jerseys in the stadium. Almost like self-sabotage at that point. I don't know. I'm fired up, boys. 500 strong. Let's smash like. But let me get Cam in here. Look. I love this team, and we bleed the orange and blue. Sometimes it overlaps with the stuff, but I'm watching this little clip just run back and forth of Graham Mertz throwing his pick again. It's fantastic. I feel bad for the players, man. I really do. I genuinely feel bad for these guys. That's what upsets me the most, because think about this, right? These players, and again, I'm going to talk to Stephen Harris, talk to him today. He's going to be on tomorrow for the Collins show. We're going to have a special guest for that show as well. These players, Genuinely, and I'm glad they did. They were brainwashed to feel that they're going to be something special this year. And I talked about that. You got to brainwash them in the right way, but you have to have the backing of that. And they truly and genuinely felt like we're different. We're going to be something. And I love that. That's where I'm even more heartbroken because now think about you as that kid. It's like my parents just lied to me all off season. They told me I was the fastest swimmer in the world, and I hopped into the pool and I drowned. You know what I mean? Like that's basically what happened here. And so now the kid's gonna question everything of like, well, what else have you been telling me is bullshit? You know what I mean? Like this is my head. This is the levels to this shit. Like this is crazy. Oh, here we go. Josh Roberts. Okay. You are the lowest IQ football commentator on YouTube. You are a clown, pumping your sunshine all over 3 years. If you aren't the fireability train, just shut the F up. Hey, puss stick, you could have called in yesterday, but you probably can't because you can't formulate a sentence without typing it, which is why you copy and paste it twice. So if you want to talk your shit, you should have called in. You can't DM me too, bitch. All right, let me go ahead and get Zach. My man came in here. I don't mean to get fired up by that. I apologize, guys. That's on me. What's up, Bubba?
What's up? What a weekend. What a weekend.
Oh.
It was something.
It was.
Yeah.
How was so you went to the presser. I haven't watched it yet. I want to get your vibe though of not Billy, but everybody else in the room. Okay, fair enough.
It was about what you would expect. I mean, give him credit for showing up to it, but it, Billy said pretty much what everyone kind of expected him to. There's no excuse. We've got to get better. Miami's a good team. Give them credit. Things like that. And in year 3, coming off of a 24-point blowout loss to one of your biggest rivals, yeah, that's what every head coach would say, something like that, but that's not what anyone wants to hear. Feels like we've been hearing that for 3 years now, and especially coming off, as you said, the hype building up to this offseason. And I appreciate you saying this too about the media, that we only get so much access. And just being real, we probably get the least access out of most teams in the country when it comes to, like, we get 10 minutes of on-air drills during fall camp. We don't get to see any of the scrimmage, things like that. And so we only have to go off of what Billy says in his presser, what the players say, what people at the scrimmages say, and they're not going to say anything bad, obviously.
Sure.
And so, we put our names on these articles talking about how good they are, how much deeper they're going to be, and then they on Saturday and just look worse than they did at any point last year. So the presser, just no one was in a good mood. You could tell all the Florida guys. It was Billy, Justice Boone, Shamar James, Chimere Dike, and Jake Slaughter. Only Boone and Slaughter were up on the podium. Shamar and Slaughter were off to the side. I spoke to Shamar. Everyone else kind of went to the other one. So it's no one was in a good mood. I don't even think I've ever seen the media kind of this pissed after a game. It it was bad, and it's just and coming off of how everything was this offseason, for it to happen like how it did in game 1, the frustration, I think, is at an all-time high for everybody.
I was going to mention the access that you guys have limited to most, but I didn't want to be incorrect with that. I've been wrong enough in the last week. I thought that was the case because look, I mean, I talked to you guys. Obviously, getting to know you guys and seeing Zach and you guys in person, like we're all just humans trying to just do our job, and we got a brotherhood in a sense. And I appreciate what you guys do. And look, we know where I come into play. I'm the fanatic part of it, and so. But I get it. Like I know you guys are frustrated and it's not fair to you. And you kind of told me that yesterday in the sense of like we don't get much access, right? We get as much as we're told, and that concerns me too. Is like, okay, well, who's in there telling that? Like again, that's where it leads me to believe like I don't think people were genuinely trying to lie, and that's like I just don't think that's the case. I think that just shows you how underwhelmed they are and they don't really know where they should be.
And you even had guys who on the beat who are a little bit more negative than usual, like Nick Del Torre, everyone calls him Negative Nick. Mark Long, of course, is the prime example. Matt Baker, of guys who, Gator fans really don't like because they see them in a negative light because they don't have that fan opinion of the team. They are very, this is how it looks in my eyes, so I'm going to say how it looks in my eyes. And even like, and I mentioned this to you before on a live show that everyone seemed a little bit more positive about this year's team. Even I watched the Gators Online reaction show from last night, and even Nick was like, "I bought into the sunshine a little bit. I bought into the hype, and it and especially the worst thing is it's only the first game, and we're having to talk about all this, right? It's one thing to lose to Miami, but they didn't compete at any point in the game. The only time that they really competed in the game was the very first play on an 11-yard pass to Trey Wilson. After that, everything was shut down. Miami was in total control from that point on to the finish, and it was demoralizing for anybody. I mean, except for the Miami fans that stayed for the entire game and were chanting, "It's great to be a Miami Hurricane." I assumed all had a great time, but it, it's demoralizing for everybody because you go through this off season of you see the additions that Florida made through the portal, you see the high school class and just like the blue chip rating and things like that. You see the coaching changes. You see, you hear all the players talking about the improvements. You hear Billy kind of talking with a little bit of swagger in his press conferences, a little bit, and from the 14-minute mark in the first quarter on, they just got their butts kicked, and it's frustrating for everybody.
Let me read this real quick. So Army Sniper says the ticket sales are telling the university is about to lose a lot of money. That's going to be again. I think I just said that. I don't think anybody's going to go to Texas A&M. What's funny here? Gator guy says, "Who the fuck just compared Billy to Zook? Zook had the number." I was about to say. I was like, I feel like that's almost. We were doing that early on, but now it feels disrespectful to compare him to Zook because I feel like we had a little more than that. And look, here's the thing too, right? Army's going to say this between famous Stephen Harris, right? Doring, Steve Spurrier, right? And this is where I was even pissed yesterday. I'm like, dude, like this is what's crazy to me is like Doring, and I said it on our show. Look, people are gonna come at me because I'm the Sunshine Pumper. I understand that angle. I don't I will never regret what I do or how I handled that. I told you my thought process is trust the process, believe what it is until it's not. And this we're at the not now. And people are like, oh, well, so now you're disappointed. You mean to tell me that if you didn't trust this process, that you're not pissed off too? Like we're both in the shitter right now. At least I enjoyed the last 8 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the difference here.
And again, like you look at what back when Billy was hired, right after Mullen was fired, that from day one they said that this was going to be a long-term rebuild, right? The expectation, at least in my eyes, was that year one was going to be rough. It was about kind of getting the foundation together, and year one was rough. They could have gone 8-4, 9-3. They lost games towards the end of those, and it really was. Hey, we could see that there is a little progress. Get his guys in, and things will get better. Year two, they didn't quite make as much impact in the portal as I thought. Graham Mertz was a hit, but there were a lot of misses. It felt like, and you know, in ways that they should have gotten better, they didn't. They fell behind the eight ball in year two completely. So then they felt like that they overcompensated going into year three. They made a lot of staff changes. Obviously, NCAA rule change helped too with analysts being able to be on the field and actually coach, helmet radios, things like that. So it really felt like even then, like year three was the one that it was everything was going to kind of come together. The team is entirely made up of Billy players. They have new impact additions through the portal. They made a lot of different changes, and they looked worse than they did last year. So I think like we all had sort of reasons to believe that this team would be a lot better than it has been. And again, 1 minute into the game, they proved that they're not. There was no point that they were competitive on Saturday. And at least like if they lost to Miami, but they were competitive, it's a different story. It turns into, well, maybe Miami is just better than everyone thought they were, but it's still a work in progress, but at least they're showing something. They didn't show anything. I
That
mean, they
was
had 11 guys on special teams, all guys in different numbers. You know, that's progress.
they tackled
But
better.
Yeah, that's the only thing that was better, was that there weren't any major special teams issues.
They tackle better because they kept busting every hole open because the line wasn't doing anything.
It was rough, man. It was rough.
What happened? I see them talking about the Katie Turner, and then I saw. Okay,
When
you know,
my when my I saw this video this morning. Actually, it was the first thing I saw on Twitter. I woke up after a cool 8 hours of sleep. 6 articles posted yesterday. I was ready to not really do anything today. On Twitter is Miami players are going into the away tunnel, which, by the way, if you know anything about the outline of Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, in I believe that's the south end zone, right in the middle is where Florida runs out the tunnel. If you're looking right at it, to the left is where the away tunnel is,
yeah.
and right in that area is where the recruits sit. So while Miami was going into the tunnel, all of their guys were chirping at the Florida recruits saying, "Come to Miami." And Katie Turner had to run from her spot to go tell them to go into their tunnel. God bless Katie Turner for the work that she's having to put in right now to try to keep recruiting momentum, just keep any of it. Because you have 60 something recruits visiting week one. A lot of them want to see Florida improve before they announce a commitment. And I don't know what progress that they had with some of those guys, but it seems like a lot of progress was lost on Saturday.
So, yeah, I guess. Okay, the people were making it seem like she did something wrong, and I was like, that doesn't sound like Katie. But
I don't know. She did. I don't know what rules are or anything like that. It's she ran from her spot and kind of went towards the Miami side and was like pointing at them to go into the tunnel and telling them to go away and
like,
things
hey,
like that.
get out of here, get moving,
Yeah,
hurry this shit up.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um,
It was. It's multiple views of it are on Twitter. Um, it's as with anything on Saturday. It's not a good look for Florida to lose at home the way that they lost against a rival, and then you have the away team who just beat the living crap out of you, talking to your recruits that you're trying to get come here, that a lot of them you're in battles with against the school that you just played, and your director of recruiting has to run down to tell them to go away. Like, what do you do with that?
jeez,
Like,
can
and
we
again, like it's
can
not Katie Turner or anything. Like, God bless Katie Turner for the work that she and her staff are having to do now to kind of keep any recruiting momentum that they had, keep it alive, because she
there?
can't control on the field.
Yeah, I
She
guess
can't.
they're saying she shoved people too. Again, I haven't seen. I saw like a quick glimpse, and then I hadn't seen it since. So,
Yeah, it's
oh, here
it.
it is. Here's the video. I just pulled up.
Yeah, it's
Oh, but she's just pointing. Yeah, from what I could tell, like tell him to come
yeah.
on. I don't. But this is only one angle.
But again, like that shouldn't happen. Just being completely honest, that shouldn't happen. And again, the demographics of the entire offseason is hype about how deeper, stronger, faster, more in shape, just playing better, more confident this team is. And they come out against a rival and just get blown out in front of 60 recruits. And it just, I mean, in the words of Billy Napier, it's embarrassing and there's no excuse. There isn't.
Can we talk about? We don't have to maybe say names, but what we were talking about earlier that I asked you about. Can we just say that?
We'll talk about it because it's out there and it's published.
Oh, okay.
So with recruiting, a lot of the sites have recruiting guys. So like Blake Alderman with Swamp 247, Corey and Keith with On Three. I know Gator Country has Andrew Spivey and Gentry Hawk. So and again, too, God bless all those guys for having to go talk to these kids after a loss. We don't do in depth recruiting like that at our site. We touch on it a little bit, but yeah, Jarquez Carter, my guy at Newberry, came out and said pretty much that he made the right decision committing to Ohio State. And I think that that's really frustrating too because it's a kid 20 minutes from your campus. He has connections with guys on the team. He's visited before. Florida was a finalist. And really a guy, too, who I've said that, yeah, he's committed to Ohio State, but he's going to take a lot of different visits over the fall. And if Florida shows some progress, that's another guy who maybe they can sneak in and get a recruit from and get a commitment from. And I don't want to say it's completely over because we're a long way till December, but I mean, he just flat out came out and said that he made the right decision committing to Ohio State. And again, like that's not I wasn't there for the interview, um, but it was posted on Twitter by one of the guys. It has been talked about publicly, so
It's free
we
game.
can.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just didn't want to.
Yeah, I wasn't there, so I don't want to take credit for the interview or anything. Shout out to all of those guys that I mentioned before for putting in the recruiting work, but it's out there. He said that. So, and I imagine that that's a lot of the same ways that other guys are feeling. Maybe not publicly, but I know that a lot of people are frustrated and not happy with how Florida played.
King Mike says $5 says Billy's ass. If he is able to make UF contenders again, he'll never be able to win the big games because he can't make adjustments. So get rid of him now. Yeah, I mean, people are like, "Hey, do we fire him now?" I kind of understand the logistics of like, where do you go from here? But it's like, I don't. Why? I don't. I mean, I don't want him calling the plays. I don't want
Yeah,
him leading the team out onto the football field. Like that's where my head's at. It's like, oh, it's game one. Let's relax. And look, I was in a way somewhat ready to kind of defend if there was a loss. Like, hey, we have these things to come, to grow on. We don't have anything, in my opinion, to grow on outside of DJ Lagway. But I don't want to pass the reins for Billy to manage that. Defensively, I talked about Ron Roberts coming in, Armstrong, like Chapman. You go out there, you get these guys, you spend all this money. I mean, we were just throwing money into this process here and investing into Napier to get it done. And here we are. What's going to be interesting to see is tomorrow Boston College plays FSU. For those of you that probably don't follow the fault very closely, is Craig Fitzgerald was our strength and conditioning coach. But he bolted to Boston College, and he said it was because Bill O'Brien's a good buddy of his. I don't say I don't believe him, but you leave Florida, University of Florida for Boston College because he's your boy. Maybe he was like, yo, this is going to bury my ass. I'm out of here. And we're gonna find out come Monday, tomorrow, to see if Boston College, I think they could be legitimate. We're gonna find out real quick.
yeah, and too, it's another thing too. With you look at Florida's schedule, out of the 8 teams ranked on the AP poll, Miami was the second lowest. The only one lower than Miami was Texas A&M, who probably should have beaten Notre Dame last night and just fell off towards the end. But again, they're also in a first-year head coach situation, so you know,
That's what scares me too, because the things that I've been preaching, right? Miami comes in same position as Napier, dominates. You have A&M. They've had talented rosters, similar or near, but they've also lost a lot to the transfer portal that people kind of overlook. But they brought some guys in. They go get a new head coach, right? First year. Not saying that's going to be the issue, and I think that's what we saw game one was first year head coach blunder, right? For new year head coach comes in, they take a coach from Florida that's been kind of sitting behind the woods that loses his job in a sense to Austin Armstrong and not Mike Peters. Is it Mike Peterson? Is that who went?
um,
Not
Jay
Peterson.
Bate,
Bateman.
Jay, when he, I think my camera's a little blurry. Hold on here. Um, when he left, he took a full time coordinator spot at Texas A&M. He
Yeah,
had worked
DC.
with Elko before. Um, the it really was just because it was a job increase in a sense. He got to be a full coordinator, and also you got to think about too. Sean Spencer, who was fired by Billy Napier, is now the defensive line coach at Texas A&M.
Yeah, I forgot about him too.
And Jaden Hill, who were pretty much, you know, transferred out of Florida because of bad years the year before, are now playing for the Aggies. Kendall Jackson, who was committed to Florida under Sean Spencer, it was a mutual parting of ways, quote, when Sean Spencer was fired. And of course, he has the issues with Miami, but he lands at Texas A&M because of Sean Spencer. So you talk about the demographics of this game leading up to it. Imagine that Texas A&M game if Florida shows what they showed on Saturday. And then the schedule only gets harder from there. Only gets harder.
It's gonna be a gauntlet. And look, here's the thing, right? And we obviously Army says, I'll ask you this question in a minute. We obviously, we work with Florida Victorious, and we were, I was at their event, but this is gonna be tough for them. nobody's gonna want to give to Florida Victorious. Like they know how they get their love, right? Like that this is where that they got to their the results on the field generate for them, right? So this is what sucks is like the people that I know that I'm close to that I around the program of like again I see some comments kind of coming out of a little bit of like, oh, I'm spewing lies. Like look, I think that the one thing that I've done is like, do I oversell? Yeah, I've been very transparent in that. I am a fanatic first. This is why we have the guys like Cam and Delator, the reasonable ones, to come on and level this shit out. This is what we do, right? But I'm also going to be the first. I think the advantage that I have is that you guys can't really swing back the other way, and now we're going back the other direction where I'm not afraid to throw the shit either, right? And I was even talking to Stephen Harris about this a little bit of like he's talked about his experience on the sidelines. He's going to elaborate that on tomorrow, kind of how they kind of would keep him hush hush. And it's like, look, I'm all for it if you want to keep me hush hush, but this looks like shit. And we questioned it, but we wanted to trust it, and now it's like you're not supporting that. And so we've respected your ways and we never really got it in return. And now I'm kind of looking around. I was like, why should we care anymore? But
You're looking at too where throughout the offseason, of course, you had like the 50-50, the one side that said Billy was never going to be able to figure this out. It was a mistake hiring him. He's
yep.
not the guy who got rid of him last year. And the other side of, yeah, last year was a mess, but he made some changes. Give him this year and maybe even next year when DJ's the starter to really kind of see what a true Billy Napier team looks like.
No, I'm good.
50% shrunk to 1%.
E,
Like
quick.
it very quickly, like second quarter of that Miami game.
And a win wasn't needed for that not to shrink, right? A win. I think the 50 still they probably would have went down to 40 for loss. But again, the first play of the game, the first drive, and we get stopped at 3rd and 5, I think was like a run play. I didn't. It was the one play I did not see. I walked into the room for a minute, and I was like, I had this weird pit in my stomach of like, we got the ball first. We're in the swamp. It's going to be the most electric it's going to be right now. You get two big plays, right? You're moving the ball pretty healthily, and then you go right back to normal. I go, what the are we doing? And I
Yeah.
wanted to just ignore and said, look, they're going to figure it out. Let them get into a rhythm. And like you said, they were never in control of the game. They bullied us, bullied us on the line left and right. But Army says $5. Says Cam, since Billy just tells lies, why don't the beat writers boycott the pressers? Yeah, how does that math work? You guys just let him just sit there alone and no questions asked?
Well, unfortunately for me, I can't just not show up to my job because people don't want to say tell the truth or anything. I still have to go. I think though from Saturday, and I mentioned this before that even the beat writers we were pretty baffled and a little upset on Saturday because we spend time going to these press conferences and asking questions, going to the practices, putting our observations, putting our names on articles, going off of what we're told, and Florida just showed the exact opposite of everything. And I even wrote that this morning. So if you want a good 2,000 word read to fire you up and make you a little bit more angry, you can head over to SI. I put my first career column online. So go give that a read. It's on my Twitter at Cam Parker 25 as well. But you go in.
Did anybody ask any hard questions though?
A lot of it was the where do you go from this? Where I can pull up the.
Like, are you guys? I don't know. Again, I don't know how much you can say here, but are you stricken on what you can ask? Like, will you be like, hey, like, because if I'm in there, right, like me personally, we know how I run this show. Like, Billy, I would get a statement in first. Like, that was atrocious. You lied to everybody, right? Did you walking onto that football field know that you were going to get clapped? Or two, did you just truly feel that your team was going to be prepared to do something? Because either way, you're lost here. But I just need to know where your head's at. Could you ask a question like that, or does it have to be a little
Well,
more professional?
the wording will be a little bit more professional, but both of
Okay.
those were much asked on that. The first question, right away, given the experience and how confident you were in this team going into the season, how disappointing and surprising was this performance? Napier was, yeah, I mean, it's embarrassing to be quite honest with you. That's how I feel. That's how our kids feel. We've got a decision to make. I think we have. That's what I just told them. There's no excuses. We keep our mouth shut, show up and work. We have to do better. Keep it simple. That's how I feel. I do think our players will show up and they will respond. Then about Cam Ward, he's a good player. We didn't stop him. They converted on downs. touchdowns in the red area, blah, blah, blah. Um, Third question: were there signs of some of the struggles that you saw today? Defensively, it looked like you guys had a really hard time in coverage, generating pressure. Were these evident at any point in camp? Did this surprise you?
Mm.
Yeah, tell you that, yeah, I think that I felt strongly we would perform better, but I'm not here to make excuses. We've got to get it fixed. We're going to get another opportunity next week, and we've got to play better and coach better. I'll have more answers for you on Monday, but sitting in here right now, I have no excuses for you. And then, question about Graham Mertz. He confirmed that the concussion happened. Talked a little bit about DJ Lagway and how that second drive in particular was good. Um, he has to continue to work and improve. Another Miami question: Coach, you said that you guys have been preparing for Miami for a while. Was there anything that you saw today that surprised you guys or that you weren't prepared for? And with the confidence you guys had heading into this year, where's the disconnect from that confidence to what we saw today? Well, again, you've got to give Miami some credit. They've got a good football team. I think they had a handful of wrinkles that were new. There's no question about that. But overall, I think the game comes down to fundamentals. It comes down to good communication, good execution. At times out there, we did not do that. Yeah, I was surprised, but I do think that we have better football in us. I think that's the message. I think our players feel that way. I think we've got a lot of football ahead of us. And I think ultimately we'll prove over time that we can play better than that. I really believe that we'll have our opportunity to do that next week. Then a question about the third down difference. Then a question about the reaction and overreaction
So,
to big.
yeah,
That,
let
that,
me.
that's pretty much what it was questions about, obviously, Devin Moore got hurt too. He's got an AC joint injury. Did not give an
Let's
update
fucking
on
know.
it. We'll find out hopefully on Monday, and then maybe on Wednesday they'll have another update. But it was pretty much questions like that, like, is this an issue? Another question: is this an issue with strength and conditioning, with stopping the run? He said no. They got out to the perimeter. We'll get that fixed. There's optimism. How do you come back from something like this? It's a bit of a challenge, but you got to be a man and take responsibility. Blah blah blah. And then the offensive line, which the offensive line was bad. The tight ends and pass protection too didn't do great. It really was a team effort where there was not a lot of good with Graham Mertz, and even when he did have time to throw, he was missing throws. Um,
Yeah,
is
that was
this
upsetting to see. That
my time?
was frustrating.
It's we were all asking those questions. How frustrating is this? Was this a surprise? Were there signs of this in camp? We can only go off of what Billy says, and we have been for pretty much the last 8 months. So these questions are being asked, and I think when you also kind of lose the the side of the media that is a little bit more lenient towards that, guys like Mark Long and Matt Baker,
They've
people
been on
give
the
them
other side. Yeah,
they,
they've been critical.
they've been very critical, but then you have guys on the other side who are a little bit more lenient towards that. But you're starting to lose those guys too now. So
I would.
it's
I mean, I would. I mean, he should lose everybody. I would. I'd be willing to talk to them to bring him over onto the dark side if they want to join forces.
it's bad. And again, going back to the media side of it, we go off of what we're told for, again, 280 days that Florida had between the season-ending loss to Florida State and the 280 days to make improvements, 280 days to make impactful additions, 280 days to scheme, implement, design, whatever. And I wrote this in my article too. It looked like they had 28 minutes to prepare. They got pushed back on the line of scrimmage the first play that Miami ran. They have breaks in the coverage throughout the game. This is a major issue, and it's only going to get harder for them. And it's frustrating all around that you hear about how this is the best offseason, the best team that Billy's had, and it looked like the worst team that he's had.
Yeah, that's my
Like,
point. Look, I think, and I know you guys have to be basic with your questions, and that's why I was like, I would be as direct as possible. Like, there's no coach speak here. You're not weaving out of this one, big fella. But I get you guys have. That's why I don't get invited to them. I understand. I understand my role here, boys. So you're not hurt my feelings with that. But Cam, you're the man. A couple things. The weekend was incredible outside of the football game. The fact that I got to physically meet you, watch you do spelling salts and almost die, that was incredible. I can't get that. Watching you become a star at the Harmonic Woods tailgates and
I
sign babies.
I'll say this too. I was at Gator Walk waiting, and a guy came up to me and he goes, "Are you the guy on High Top that did smelling salts the other day?" And I just went, "Oh God, I'm gonna kill Shelton for making me do those."
How
Like,
incredible to be remembered as. You're welcome. Um, Just to see all that, man, it was a pleasure, and yeah, again, I appreciate you coming on here today on this Sunday. I know you had a long day yesterday, so
It was fun running into you, man. Getting to meet some fans, getting to actually see Stephen Harris more in person than the scrimmage where I kind of saw him from a distance. Our guy Zach Goodall was there. Didn't know he was going to be there. Ran into
cool
him
to
a
see
little
him.
bit.
Yeah,
And then other guys on the Gator Twitter fan base that people know. Got to meet people. So honestly, as much as the game sucked for me, going into my fourth year on the beat, this was the most fun leading up to the game that I've
yeah,
had. It's unfortunate that this was the worst game I've ever had to cover in my 40 years on the beat. And so a lot of, big roller coaster of we're starting up high, great Friday, great Saturday morning, a lot of fun all the way around, and then just boom, straight down. But
brutal.
hey, it's college football, man. Gotta love it.
It is, man. Cam Parker 25 on Twitter, man. I appreciate Big Dog. We'll get you back on here as soon as possible, man.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Later. Bye. QB chat here says 3 points and 3 possessions at Homer. Yeah, 3 points and 3 possessions at a home opener is not Florida football. Agreed. That was very frustrating. And then you also said this. I missed it. Major disconnect from the vision he cast upon the hire. 100%, boys. 100%. 880 strong in here. Be sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you guys are new. We're gonna ride this wave, this rough ocean wave of seas. Look, you know what's crazy is I know how I look. Being the fanatic point of it, when your team loses like they did yesterday, you don't want to hear about Florida football. You want to go into hiding. It was so bad that we're almost coming out of hiding to hopefully find an answer. You know what I mean? Usually, like when we have losses, nobody watches the recap show because they don't care. They're just pissed because they lost. So we'll just sleep it off and we'll come back next Saturday. But no, everyone woke up this morning on a mission. Like this is how you can kind of tell where everybody is feeling. Doing this for a couple years now, you get a pulse and a feeling of Gator Nation. And like Cam said, getting to meet a lot of you guys yesterday is cool. It's a truly an honor and a blessing. People get fired up to see you and want to chit chat with you and share the same passion for this team. It's cool to be a voice in that regard. So I do appreciate you guys' support as always. Dave put it in our Discord. Like you guys are roaring voices and keep it going because I love doing this because obviously I love football, but also to come back and hang out with you guys. So I do appreciate y'all tuning in. I do want to give an update. We had this break on our show last night, which was crazy on the call-in show. I thought it was a joke at first because he just didn't seem real. But Ricky Pearsall was shot last night. In case I imagine most people will know this by now. He was in an attempted robbery, and they were trying to steal his Rolex. It was a 17-year-old kid walked up to him in the middle of the street. Apparently, Ricky Pearsall, I read the article, was like wasn't having it, kind of like fought back a little bit because he's a gay, got a gator him. And yeah, gun went off a few times, took a shot to the chest. You can see here his mom says, "Update on my baby boy. First and foremost, I want to thank God for protecting my baby boy. He's extremely lucky. God shielded him. He was shot in the chest and exited out of his back. Thanks be to God, it missed his vital organs. He's in good spirits right now. Life is so precious, my friends. Please love each other. My son was spared today by the grace of God." There's a video that was circling on the internet of him getting into the ambulance. I mean, he looked as best as you can, I guess, after getting shot. You could see him kind of like, what just happened? I didn't show the whole thing because there's some blood. I just wanted to show him kind of like, you could see that he's at least good. I know we always want to make sure that he's okay. But I said I saw he's in stable but serious condition, but it is stable. So I did want to provide an update on that because that was just a crazy uh, outline of events. They tried to steal again his Rolex off his wrist there, just walking through the streets of San Francisco, I believe. Yeah, that's where he was. So wild. Yeah, the suspect was shot too. So it sounds like there might have been a little bit of a wrestle, and I saw that, and there wasn't like a descriptive of like did Ricky pull up and fire off on him. It sounds like there may have been a little bit of a tuffle. The gun went off a few times. We're pointing at you, you're pointing at me, and both people were shot, and the kid was arrested as well too. But unreal turn of events. But yeah, I didn't want to kind of bring the news down anymore, but he's a Gator forever in my eyes. One of my favorite Gators. I have him signed on my helmet over there. Pretty Ricky. We've interviewed him on the show. Incredible young man. Thank goodness he made it out of the dumpster fire there in Florida and has made it to the first round. So We'll see. You guys are putting in there questions about coaches and stuff. I don't have an opinion about it. I really don't. I'm in such a blender on that. I haven't even thought about it. I just, I don't know. I see Lane Kiffin. I see all these things. At this point, boys, we had some calling yesterday. I feel like we could all gather the troops and we can go coach some damn shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, at this point, who knows? But look, I appreciate you. I love you. Tonight, or I think we're gonna release it tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, 35 or 9:35, we're gonna release our week one recap show. This is kind of similar to the High Top Game Day show. You guys really tune out for that show. I love it. But that's gonna be where we recap the biggest games from the day. All reliable that you've been peeled off. We know who's gonna be in that segment. Kind of the big breakout star, game of the week. Talk about all those things and have fun. We've got the guys coming on. It's going to be a cast of all of us, and it's going to be a great time. We're going to do that weekly. Again, we're going to continue to go to the brand, continue to have fun with this show, regardless of what we got to do. We still get football. We got to appreciate that we have football. As much as we want to be pissed off right now, we still got football. I just committed to Oregon. We got the High Top Oregon channel. You guys can go tune in over there. It's a good time. I love you guys. I appreciate you as always. Peace and love, baby. We'll see you in the next one.